were busy siphoning the money, or is it that those persons who were there before now don't even know, what to do that will help them to get such amount of revenue or generate such amount of revenue and also make the profit? And other persons have been asking again now, how are we, you and I, average Nigerians, how are we going to benefit from this particular billions of naira that we have as profit and trillions that we've generated thus far just in the month of April? Now, if we keep on talking about the figures, yes, it's a good one. Then we need to see this particular fund. We need to see these monies, come down to help cushion the effects of economic hardship that Nigerians are having and all that. And talking about oil theft, someone asked a question that got me thinking yesterday on X. Person said, are you serious? So are we looking at the fact that some persons come up to tell Nigerians that 80% of our crude oil, were being stolen? Someone even said, no, it's not 80%, it's 90%. That shows we're just dealing the business of 10% thus far. How were we able to curtail the effect of oil theft? Because we cannot say people who are running oil bunkering are the ones stealing our oil and all that. We're talking about prominent Nigerians. We're talking about bigwigs who happen to be in the oil industry now, milking and soaking Nigerian oil dry without really, bringing any revenue to the table. Then another part again is this. When we talk about improved export volumes, people were expecting the NNPCL to tell us what exactly happens to be the volume we're taking out. How much of crude oil are we producing in Nigeria? How much of it are we exporting? How much of the oil produce are we bringing back into the nation? How are we going to have a clear data of all the happenings within our oil sector? Because that is just the major revenue that Nigeria as a country up until today still hold on to, But I believe that the new chief, the new head, the new body managing the affairs of NNPC at this point in time will, make Nigerians find out the clear nature of happenings in that place and not letting us actually wallow in that shredded, part that it have been beclouded with all this while.
All right, big gains, it seems, that one, such monies, over 5.8 trillion naira, and then 748 profit margin. Massive profit margin, if you ask me. But I'm not exactly excited, because I'm asking myself, is this a one-off? Should we expect this going forward? And, why the public information about it? Is this some sort of PR move? Is this to let Nigerians believe that something is happening with the biojewelries NNPC under President Bola Tinubu? Of course, what is going on? It's a huge margin. And did we come about this by a higher crude export? Did this come about based on, some sort of inflow, financial inflow from other sources like FX, divestment of assets and the rest? What has precipitated this massive inflow? I mean, it's a good thing. It's a good thing because it basically means that FAC allocation will be increased. So there will be more in that regard. But can this be sustained? That's the question I'm asking. Will it be sustained? Can it be sustained? Will it be sustained? And also, Nigerians, and in all of this, I realize that in spite of this, monies that have come in, NNPC filling stations were only able to put out 54% crude oil, 54%. And without the refineries working, I don't think this can be sustained. And this also shows, a lot of dependence on crude alone. Nigeria should also look at a way of moving into, agriculture and ensuring that that sector starts to grow as well. Because if we get excited, get overly excited and depend on this, it might not be sustainable. But kudos to those that put out the figures. This will boost investor confidence, of course, but I just hope it's not some deceitful move.
Yes, I like the fact that you said kudos to the people that put up the figures. I'm particularly not excited with what is coming out from NNPC. Because if you do a business of 5.89 trillion naira and you make a profit of 748 billion naira, but before I even continue, it's also nice to let us understand that NNPC clearly said this account has not been audited. It's not been audited, so we might just get to hear the true story after the account is audited, if it is ever audited, because we don't ever hear that NNPC account is audited. For how many years? We've been running around trying to audit their accounts. Now, that said, where are these monies coming from? Is it from the joint venture operations? Is it from the crude oil sales? Crude oil that we were told that we've been sold upfront up until 2030 and all of that? So the excess, what if you raised 5.89 trillion and you made a paltry profit, I call it paltry, of 748. So the rest of the money went into operational costs, like what? Overhead, salaries, trips, allowances, and all of that. To me, it doesn't just add up. We need to look, NNPC is one organization that we need to open up. Moses, I don't know why you're looking at me like, no, look at it. At the point they said they made a profit, that was last year, they said they made a profit of how much? 6.7 trillion naira. And they said they use how much for salaries and overhead? About 2.7 trillion. And 3 weeks later, they came to tell us that, that they were indebted to companies that were supplying them refined petroleum products in excess of how much? 6.8 trillion naira. So if you put all of those things together, I don't understand mathematics very well, but I also know how to count my money in my pocket and in my bank. So as far as I'm concerned, and one curious thing is that this is for the month of April.
It's the month of April alone.
For the month of April.
I think it's huge.
Okay,
so you're calling it paltry sum.
I
think it's huge. For the
considering how much, 5.8 trillion naira. So all the other monies went into operational costs. So what are you operating, by the way? Okay, you have a refineries with full officialdom, and people are being paid. People are sponsored for overseas training. That's all part of the NNPC.
But
their overhead is huge. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Okay.
Their overhead is huge, If they're able to scale, and meanwhile the refineries are not producing, they are all part of NNPC. So we need to, I've not read the report anyway, to be very fair to them. So we need to understand where all these monies are coming from. Like I said, is it from the joint venture partners or what? NNPC, do they have a prospecting company? They're called NMPD, somewhere in Edo State or what? Are they into...
Now that he has defected, we know there are other people that are interested in the APC. Will he guarantee positions? Will he guarantee us, the promises made? They don't think so. And I don't think so too. Oh well, best of luck.
Interestingly, I believe that the next election is already very close. 2027, yes, person will say, I think it's too quick for Nigerians to be talking about that particular year. But I believe that year is going to determine the rise and fall of many. Yes, it's going to determine the rise and fall of so many persons, especially the people that believe that power lies within them and their own household, When people are disgruntled, when people are not happy about how you treat them, especially the persons that have placed so much allegiance to you, that help you to find your way where you are, and then you think you've arrived. When they say don't burn bridges, some persons don't understand why they say that. And I think it was Cultured Man or thereabout that sang a song, who lives in a glass house should not trust on. That is what Omoeno is doing at this point in time, saying that he would not want to be distracted by barking dogs along the way. The same particular structure you're calling a barking dog happens to be the one that made you to be a governor in that particular state. And then you think because you believe you've seen the light at the end, you've never gotten to the end of the tunnel from use that word. You're still inside the tunnel. You think you've seen the light, and you wake up to use some degrading or dehumanizing words to address the persons who actually helped you, who made sure that your ambition actually to be the #1 person in a state that have millions of persons, actually that dream come to limelight. But anyway, like Moses rightly pointed out, A whole lot of persons who worked for you to be the governor of that state, you promised them heaven and earth, and you've not been able to even to take them out of this earth, let alone bringing them to limbo, and they are angry, they are not happy. They are not happy at all over this particular thing. Just know that the next election is around the corner. Let's test and see how your popularity or what your popularity will take you to. I am this person that believes that posterity actually speaks louder than what you think you have at the immediate, because tomorrow actually is pregnant and you don't know what that tomorrow is going to give birth to. But anyway, success in your endeavor. Some persons were chanting on your mandate, we shall stand. Other persons were actually crying over the particular.
Because APC is most likely to implode with a lot of people going into that party, a lot of interest, both intersecting and overlapping and all of that. It is just going to blow up, and that will happen very soon. In fact, it's happening now in Lagos State. No matter how they try to paper over it, there's crisis within the Lagos APC. In Osun State, the same thing. Arembushola is already gearing up, to battle Adeleke if Adeleke comes in. In Kwara State, the Otoga movement, led by Lai Mohammed, is in big contest with Razak Rahman, the governor, the sitting governor, and all of that. In Abia State, we have three clear factions of the APC, and these things happen in almost every other state where APC is either in office or major opposition party. So if you put all of these things together, you don't need to travel far to understand that, look, APC, there will be a problem ahead of 2027. But one thing that worries me is that the line they always give that, look, it is for the best interest of the people. No, it is not, sir. It is for your own personal interest. Enlightened selfish interest. That is what we call it. That is what I call it. Because when a lot of people are saying, I don't have a problem with people changing parties, but just say that you want to move. Because like you said, what if I win elections in 2027 and someone goes to court to say that, look, the person that signed your nomination form or expression of interest form isn't the person that should have actually signed it, taking you back to, where you started from. It's understandable. We understand that. So don't give us that line that it is in the best interest of Akwa Ibom people. It is based on your own personal interest. Because the political elites in Akwa Ibom State have cried out that much. I said, no, it is not in our interest to move to the APC. And when you say you want to align with the center, what do you mean by aligning with the center? Does it look like you are being coerced, or is there anything that is due to you that has not come to you because you are in a different political party? I don't think so. And if that is happening, then it lends credence to the fact that what people are saying about APC coercing people into defecting to their party is just real. And it doesn't look so good for the optics for our democracy. What I say for the optics, I actually mean that, look, the democracy that we're even talking about, who does it favor? It's just a very few of you that are in government. So for the optics, for people to, even outsiders, to see, okay, looks like there's a semblance of democracy happening in Nigeria. That's it, but in actual sense, it is just government of the few, for the few and by the few. Anyway, let's move away from that and get into a very sad incident, a tragic air disaster that rocked India after a domestic passenger plane crashed in the eastern state of Odisha, killing at least 70 people and injuring dozens more. While the ill-fated aircraft operated by Bharat Airlines went down shortly after takeoff during a heavy downpour, raising immediate concerns over weather-related complications and possible technical faults. Rescue teams rushed to the remote crash site, pulling survivors from the wreckage, while aviation authorities have launched a full investigation to determine the cause of the accident. Well, the Indian government has expressed deep condolences to the families of the victims as the nation mourns one of its deadliest air tragedies in recent years, unfortunately. Well, our hearts go out to the families that lost loved ones in that air incident, that air crash. When these things happen, it's survivors. I understand from what maybe things have improved. I understand there was only one survivor at a point. So, and I don't know what happened.
It's still one survivor.
It's still one survivor.
Yes.
It's very tragic because I can't imagine. Air disasters are very, very. I mean, when they happen, they don't even spare anybody. It's quite unfortunate. I don't know. It's okay. Quite unfortunate.
Oh yes.
Talking about that plane crash, persons will be like, why are we talking about it the way it is? There's no one that is actually sweet, but that particular aircraft was, I think it was Boeing 787-8, and that happens to be, I think, 248 or 250 passenger capacity. Imagine where you're getting the information that just one person survived from a fully loaded aircraft. A plane crashed into, a building for doctors and medical practitioners.
A hostel for nursing, for doctors.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were 242 people on board. One person survived, and it was a very fast decision he made to jump out because he was seated close to the emergency exit. That's seat 11A. Congratulations to the survivor. But unfortunately, the plane, I think as of this morning, we have about 290 people dead. And that includes the 241 from the plane, and then people on ground, those that were also affected. And, there were some pictures from it. Another very pathetic part is a doctor who had been in UK for a long time, for like 6 years, and wanted to take his family with him. So he went back to India, got the family, the wife and children, and they were going back to the UK, and then they all died in that air crash. Quite an unfortunate one. But anyway, they're still looking into it. The black box has not been found. I guess in the coming days or hours, we'll find out the probable cause of the crash. Well, that's it for trending stories. Now, let's take a quick look at the papers. Fina, do you have any paper with you?
I do, and then before me here is the Punch newspaper, although we have other papers. We have The Guardian, we have the Nigeria Tribune, and the News Telegraph, the First News. Okay, let me start off from the First News newspaper today. June 12, MKO denied presidency because rule of law failed. That's coming from Fashola. Presidency apologizes after naming living icons in posthumous honors. I'll take that again. Presidency apologizes after naming living icons in posthumous honors. Jiga accuses politicians of bribing professors to rig elections. Tinubu confers national honors on Shoyinka, Falano, Kuka, 36 others. Troops eliminate terror kingpin, Auta, 25 others is the federal offensive. The banner headline: On the fire, Tinubu faces a barrage of Democracy Day. Right after that, Tinubu let opposition burn. I enjoy their confusion. Article: This is domination, not governance. Obi: Nigeria is starving, bleeding, lost under his reign. Dixon: Don't preach democracy while silencing rivers. Utomi: Time to charter reign of tropical gangsters. And then we have the bottom strip airline, only survivor found in Air India crash. And those are the stories you'll find on the cover page of the First News newspaper today. And due to want of time, that's how far we can also go, looking at the cover page of the national dailies. Do well to join Moses and Chikuma for the newspaper review prop, and that will be on top of the hour, 10 a.m. here on Voice of the People Television. When we'll come back, we'll dissect the Democracy Day speech. Also, as we look at what the president said, that it pleases him more like to see other political parties, especially those in opposition, in disarray. And we'll look at this after this break. Do what is this?
Good morning. It's the start of a beautiful day. Well, start your day right with a healthy dose of news, fun, and inspiration. Join us on VOP this morning for the latest news, trending topics, and uplifting stories to set your day on the right vibe. From news and current events to lifestyle and entertainment, you are covered.
VOP This Morning, 8 a.m., Monday through Friday.
On Political Lens, we bring you deeper insights into happenings within the polity.
We create equality of representative opinion and fairness in politics, economic and diverse conversations.
Here we bring you breaking news, fresh perspectives, as well as fact-based analysis.
Watch our extraordinary shows from the People's Voice, where we get to amplify the stories and concerns of everyday Nigerians to hashtag.
To Health Check, where we share practical wellness tips and bring you deep insights from medical professionals.
Maritime Frontiers will dissect issues on port operations and more.
Every time we talk about sport, it's everything that has to do with sport, from the top to the finish. Just be with us, stay with us all of the time. We give you sporting activities just as you unfold, and that's what we do, and that's why we are called Voice of the People TV, and you already know.
We got you all covered.
Here, you have more than a voice.
Well, yeah, welcome back and thanks for staying with us. And if you are just joining us, this is VOP This Morning on Voice of the People Television. President Bola Tinubu has stirred political waters with bold jabs at opposition parties, declaring during his Democracy Day speech that it was a pleasure to see the People's Democratic Party, PDP, and the Labour Party in disarray. While speaking to a joint session of the National Assembly, Tinubu reaffirmed his belief in a healthy multi-party system, stressing that Nigeria will never become one-party state under his leadership. While taunting his rivals, he insisted that political diversity remains vital to the nation's democratic development. The president used the platform to defend his administration's economic reforms, stating that although painful, they are necessary for long-term growth and stability. While addressing critics, Tinubu said citizens were free to call his names and criticize his government, promising to protect speech at all costs, while he highlighted ongoing efforts to revamp infrastructure, improve security, and stabilize the economy, while urging Nigerians to remain patient and united in building a stronger democracy. Well, we have in the studio here, we've been joined by Mr. Dele Fanimo. Dele is a citizen reporter and VOP in-house analyst. Beside him, we have Barrister Asim Adam, a lawyer and social affairs commentator. Gentlemen, thanks for your presence on VOP this morning. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody.
Once again, happy Democracy Day to you. You weren't here, so we shared one with Dele yesterday.
I don't believe in that happy democracy.
I just see that's coming.
You don't believe? No, let's talk about it a bit. You don't believe in democracy?
No, there's no
democracy. Because it's essential about the president's speech.
There's no democracy in Nigeria. Right from 1999, there's never been democracy. Democracy has tenets, what I call conditions that you have to meet. Rule of law, equity, justice, and also majority rule and participation in government. All these indices are lacking. So when people begin to talk about celebrating democracy, that is why I was very happy when the president went to the National Assembly to address them and not giving what they call speech on Democracy Day. That is it's outdated. It's an aberration. Now, is it democracy where the president, the executive arm of government, can lord it over the judicature and the legislative arm of government? That is not democracy. Is it democracy when people want to protest, you gag them, use tear gas, water cannons, arrest those who are even, talking against the administration? That is not democracy. Is it democracy that a sitting president, elected by the people, so-called, will wake up in the morning and invoke a particular section 305 or whatever they call it to remove or suspend a sitting governor that was also elected the way the president was elected? That is not democracy. Democratic institutions are well known and strong. Not in Nigeria.
Barrister.
So what we are is it democracy?
No, Barrister, this is very interesting. There's a flurry of different opinions out there.
The system of government we borrowed
Okay.
That is presidential system of government, not democracy.
Okay, so
we borrowed system of government, because system of government is different from democracy.
But the USA practices a democracy.
US practices democracy.
Good. But in Los Angeles recently, water cannons and rubber bullets was used to disperse protesters.
Because they were violent. In Nigeria here, I was in River State.
But in Nigeria here, government has said, look, protests are hijacked, and that's why they said...
No. For instance, the question I want to ask, the NSAS protest was not violent for about 3 days or 4 days or 10 days until the military came in. Until the soldiers came in and started shooting. That was when it became violent. That was when people became angry and started entering the street. But musicians were coming there to sing. People were happy.
Barrister, are you saying on this table that military were the ones that attacked the persons that come up to protest peacefully?
Of course, the panel that was set up now, the NSAS panel said it. Now it was soldiers from a particular area. They came in and invaded.
Then why is it that Nigeria as a nation till tomorrow still deny the killings and the death of innocent?
That is what we're talking about. You see, the problem we're having is that this self-denial of some of all these things. You say you are practicing democracy. What? A democracy is not a democracy. See, a democratic leader must have empathy.
Okay, all right.
You understand? And we don't have that.
Let's bring Mr. Fanimo into this conversation.
No democracy, please.
He's been giggling, so I don't know where he is. I don't know where.
Democracy.
What's your idea of, are we practicing democracy before we even get into, the major topic of democracy? Is all part of what we are discussing. And the jab the president took at the PDP and Labour Party, where he says he likes what is going on, that they are in disarray and all of that. Will you say that that presidential statement is, what's your idea about the democracy that we are practicing, and then also examine the president's remarks that, look, I like what's going on within the LP and PDP?
Well, what I was giggling was the fact that Barrister said wholesale. Now, we didn't borrow democracy from America, but we borrowed system of government. How can you divorce democracy in America from the system? And the system is defined as democratic system. And the institutions have been there for centuries. And if we borrow all these, the structures here are the same as the American system of government. And so to that extent, we practice democracy, and that was the ideal that was borrowed from America. But unfortunately, Nigeria happened on our democracy, and somehow it was redefined by the actors in the corridors of power.
Sorry, before you move on, let's be clear on something. What we borrowed from America is the presidential system of government, right? So when we practice parliamentary, will it be appropriate to say that we borrowed?
There's no basis for comparison for now, because that's a conjecture. But what we have now is American system of government.
Which is the presidential.
Okay. And at the point that you go out to elect officials, the fact that you are here today as a public officer, and you are doing what negates the tenet of democracy is a different ball game. But the people that borrowed this had their own clear intentions and ideas when they brought this. But it got to Nigeria and they started, would I say, abusing the process. So the fact that they are abusing the process doesn't mean that tomorrow somebody might not come and reverse the trend and still get us back on track.
Some persons have said that Nigerians or other African nations should look inwardly and pick what works for them, given the fact that we are a bit different from the people that we emulate or learn so many things from at this point in time. Do you think that that actually should help us actually come up from this quagmire of whether we're practicing a democratic system of government or something different entirely?
Obasanjo just said it when he was in government. He said he wants a variance of democracy that is peculiar to our needs. For instance, he said instead of Bible and Quran, that they should introduce Amadioha, Shogo, and Ogun, that those ones they don't spare anybody that violates their rule. Is that not a variant? And you see, by our nature, we are autocratic. And unfortunately, the only way we can practice autocracy is when you have the military around. But we abhor military system of government. I am not saying that military is better, but from my own content analysis and all that, we had this yesterday in the evening. Military government has done better in terms of development in this nation than the civilian government. We have monuments to point out to when military was around. But up to now, since 2029, is it telephoning that we are going to celebrate as part of monuments that the civilian administration has done for us? But then, unfortunately, the drive is, you know, sometimes when people raise a mantra, we tend to follow it as if we are robots.
So you're saying for the 26 years?
The Western world felt that military was no longer in fashion. Yeah. So we all embraced it and we said we want democratic system of government.
Are you not? Are you saying
system of government that is top heavy, overhead is more than capital expenditure? Would that be sustained over a long period of time? Democracy, we are slow to action. That something that should have attracted the attention of the right people and would take it up and begin to implement. It takes years. Do you know that PI bill that later became PIA was between 2001 or thereabout, and until Buhari came in 2016, that was when they started working on that bill that was passed and accepted by Buhari. If it were to be a government that we don't have to, and whereas within that time frame, several bills were passed, and this is talking at the heart of Nigerian development. Okay. Yet it succeeded almost 4 National Assembly.
Sorry to interrupt you here. Let me even take you to the bill aspect, because when I saw the Speaker, House Speaker, the President of the Senate reel out the bills, and then, you know, the bills before the Senate, and then also the bills before the House of Reps was also reeled out. I just asked myself, our lawmakers, is it just about passing bills and, you know, proposing bills and passing them into law? Is that all they do there? Because in the Senate, we have over 800 bills, according to the President of the Senate. Over 800 bills, 200 and something have been passed. They are waiting to, you know, hear, okay, 400 and something has gone into second rereading. And is that all they do?
No, apart from making laws, they also have oversight functions. For instance, you have committees and subcommittees in the Senate and the House of Reps, and they oversee agencies of government and certain institutions.
All right, then.
To make sure that they also check in and make sure that they correct some anomalies there. But unfortunately, again, in our own case, rather than go in there to make things better, they go in there to line their pockets. But, you recall the off the mic session?
Most definitely, yes. The popular one. Barrister, let me throw this question to you too. The proposing bills, how important is it for our lawmakers? Because that's how they seem to gauge their performance. You know, when you listen to them argue, they say, how many bills have you proposed? They seem to use that to gauge their performance. First, let's have your reaction to that.
If you look at the way the Nigerian constitution or any constitution is arranged, Section 4 is the first section for, you know, these organs of government. You have the legislature. Okay. Then 5 is for the executive, 6 is for the judicature. Now, why that particular arrangement was done that way was because of the conscious nature that those drafters of the constitution knows the importance of the legislature. And that importance of the legislature is that they make laws that the executive will execute. They also make laws that the judicature will interpret. So if the legislature is absent, is nowhere in any so-called democracy like we practice right now, that particular system will not work. You understand? That is the importance of the legislature. Now, making laws also by virtue of that section 4 is a directly said you are to make laws. You are to do what? Make laws. How do you now make laws? That this executive will execute, judicature will interpret. How do you make the laws? It's for sensible people to come in there and say, okay, sit down and look at what is happening and contemporary issues and whatever else is affecting the people, and so okay, let us see if we can build a law around this particular area. And turning out laws has about 2, 3, 4 chambers. First reading, second reading, third reading, or whatever, then assent. Now, there must be a proposal for those who want a law to be. You understand? So it's called a bill. You now bring that bill to the House. The House will now do what? Debate it. If they debate and they find it worthy, they now do a vote. That is where majority whatever will now come in. And I say, okay, let the Senate vote whether they assent or whatever. Now they say yes or no. If it goes through the House of Reps, it will now be taken to House of Reps.
We understand all of this.
All those things.
Yes.
So these are the functions of the legislature.
Okay.
So making these laws now is where the problem is in Nigeria now. The particular legislature that we have today are making anti-people laws. For instance, Nigerians will see that in the coming week or so, next week, we're going to see something going to happen. The Nigerian National Assembly is proposing a 5% bill for pump price of petroleum. The bill is in the House right now. So, the moment you buy your fuel from the pump, apart from 800 and something naira they are selling now, they'll be taxing you per pump price. You understand the point now? It's a bill before the House. That is an anti-people law, or bill, as the case may be. So when you have people who always turn out anti-people law, you now ask yourself, what's the essence of that legislative House of Assembly? That is the problem we're having in Nigeria today. So if I understood your question, very well, is that why are they making laws, as the case may be? So many laws.
So many bills.
Good. You don't need to make so many laws or bills that are so irrelevant. You understand? You don't do, because you are there, you just come out and make bills that, you bring up bills or turn up bills that will not touch the lives of the people. Okay. Because the essence, why you can say, make laws for good governance.
Okay.
For good governance of the country. That is why they are there. So if any law is there, is not for good governance, then that law is not a good law or bill. I mean, a bill is not a good bill.
All right, Barrister, we have seen bills, that have been shut down by the Nigerian people. I think one of which is the bill about cyber, whatever, about if you insult a public officer.
Cyber
stalking and all of that. That bill was shut down. Another one was withdrawn when Nigerians cried out. I'm sure that...
They will arrest anybody that refuses to vote and jail.
Exactly. That's the latest one. So I'm pretty sure that if Nigerians are against this, they will also cry out. Honorable Comrade Destiny Enabulele standing by for us. Good morning, Honorable Enabulele, and thanks for joining us on VOP this morning. Hello, Comrade, can you hear me?
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Akuro.
Good morning. Good to have you on VOP this morning. Okay, now we are discussing democracy, and one of the president was at the National Assembly yesterday, and he did say something that got Nigerians worried, more like when he said, look, I like what is going on within the Labour Party and the PDP. Now, does it look like the president has also, his comment lends credence to allegations by people like Peter Obi and other bigwigs, like what Atiku Abubakar said the other time too, that the president was the person behind the confusion within the PDP and the Labour Party. Is there a connect between what the president said yesterday and those allegations made earlier before now?
Let me again appreciate your platform for this wonderful opportunity, and thank viewers and listeners at home. You see, you can, for me, what I can deduce from the president's show yesterday is a mockery of sorts to the opposition parties. This time, not only you can see, it was with utmost humility. Is my father, is my president, has to speak very just now. He was very sarcastic in his comments. But to me, he's doing more of politics than doing the nitty-gritty, that is governance, the protection and welfare of the people. You saw the way he and the people with the audience. They were entertained yesterday by the president, speech and everything. Not as if there's something fantastic or something to take away to implement.
The accolades that the president, reeled and reduced, the roads are safer, and then he reeled out a few other. Let's see. Well, he says, look, that national security as infrastructure, investment, roads, ports, rail, all of that has improved. And then he talked about to 4.6%. He talked about inflation easing. He talked about not feeling the impact of some of these things that he has reeled out. We'll argue that, look, is he feeling the pains of the city that Nigerians now?
It's on that seat and begin to condemn himself. It's not possible. If he decides to reel out those supposed achievements, he has every right to do that. But it's for you to also sieve through those achievements that he has reeled out and pick the ones that you consider as the true reflection.
Now, a situation whereby the president said, look, there is a portal that Nigerians can come and complain about my ministers, the ones that are not working, let me know, and I will probably rejig my system. I mean, that was the impression that Nigerians got. But then we have a situation where the president continually gives accolades to the ministers. He tells David Umahi that, look, you're doing well, ignore detractors, ignore those that are trying to bring you down. He tells Minister Wike that, look, ignore.
You are shielded from reality.
Who does the shielding?
People around him. He has AIDS.
To what gain, if you ask me? If I ask you, to what aim and to what end?
How would somebody who knows his life depends on when the governor smiles or the president smiles tell that governor the truth? It's not going to be possible. It's not going to happen. Please, let me explain something.
With the president accepting that he knew that Nigerians are not happy, Nigerians are suffering. He told the international body when he went for a summit in Brazil that we have issue of insecurity, we have issue of crisis and a whole lot. He accepted that we're having such. Is he really shielded from reality?
I am telling you, it may sound untrue here, but I hope you have that opportunity to understand what I'm saying. Look, when I was working in Oyo State with a governor, the governor had on his table a paper of the mortuary of Adeoyo now teaching hospital that is in perfect state. And what they did was to give him that paper. Ordinarily, you would assume that it is true. But we as media men were the ones that told him, because my wife was working in that hospital then, and you could see the odor oozing out of that mortuary. Even patients in the hospital couldn't take it. Now we had to find a way of telling him the truth. And when he said he wanted to go and visit that hospital, we need to see the way they piloted him away from that section of the mortuary until he insisted that he wanted to be in that mortuary. That is the way of aides and even civil servants around people in power. And the only thing that I will fault in him is that sometimes these people, they devise means of breaking through the barrier.
Finding out things themselves.
To find out themselves.
Okay, now let me bring this to you, Barrister Asim Adams. We're talking about the Cybercrime Act of 2015, and then, my colleague also pointed to that. But now, just yesterday, the head of missions from United States, United Kingdom, Finland, Norway, and Canada come up to make Nigeria understand that this particular Act of 2015, if it is being used, is going to hamper the country's digital and economic potentials, as well as also cramp down on Nigerians. But the president, during the speech yesterday, said that he also should be applauded for having an ambitious project of laying fiber optic cables around the nation. And also he believes that will help to transform step by step, to bridge the gap of digital, slides in Nigeria. What do you have to say about this particular one now?
You see, for me, I believe that social media should be regulated, but not the strict regulations that we do in Nigeria. Let me give an example. About 3 days ago, I posted something on my Facebook handle. I was to do a TV program at one of the stations in, I think, Enugu. So the topic, I just posted it on my handle about incisive analysis of the whatever as case may be. You know what happened? Facebook never allowed that thing to fly. I think about a day after I saw, a message from Facebook telling me that they shut down that particular post, that it offended community, Facebook community, whatever. And I said, I'm not aware of this community, whatever its case may be. That is Facebook, international, social, so there should be regulation. And I tried, they said I can appeal. I did an appeal. I don't know whether the appeal went or not, or who sat over the appeal. They came back and said they did not allow me to do that. You have seen situations where you even post one or two things, Facebook will even, lock your book or whatever, your handle. You may not go. Even Donald Trump, Twitter had to, shut him down. So there should be regulation. In Nigeria, people use the social media as a tool to intimidate people. I've faced that. A number of people have faced that kind of whatever. They abuse it. Let me use the word. Anything that people abuse it. There should be regulations to that particular extent. Look at another thing that is happening now, for instance, which I'm sorry I'm taking some time. Okay. There's what we call practical jokes, which they call pranks here. Pranks. People can die. In the UK, America, you don't just go out and do a prank. You must get a license and you must have to do what now? Know the implications that if your act causes high blood pressure or heart attack on those you are pranking on, you will be responsible to pay damage to the family. But in Nigeria here, you walking along the road, a man will accost you and tell you, run. You don't know, you begin to run. You ever run into the express and you get knocked down by a vehicle. They say it's prank at the end of the day. I've seen that happen. So there should be regulation. Okay. But what I'm saying is this. The Nigerian government regulatory, whatever, is to make us not to even post at all. You understand? 2 is that if, for instance, I defame you or with my social media handle, there is already an existing law on defamation, for instance. You don't even need cyber, whatever, crime, whatever act or whatever they call it, to prosecute me, to take me to court, for me to pay damages to you. There are already laws on defamation. So those laws are what we're asking them to follow. Okay. Not creating or enacting new ones that will make it harsher and you not take me to prison because I insulted somebody.
All right then.
So I think it's harsh. That is what they are trying to do.
Thank you, Barrister Adams. Democracy discussions is an ongoing thing. Like Afeni, the other said that Nigeria's democracy is work in progress, just like any other nation. Fortunately, the next topic of discussion is also, we are going to stay on the issue of democracy. And because P2B has said that Tinubu is playing politics rather than working for Nigerians. Stay with us as we take a short break. We'll be right back.
Good morning. It's the start of a beautiful day. Or start your day right with a healthy dose of news, fun, and inspiration. Join us on VOP This Morning for the latest news, trending topics, and uplifting stories to set your day on the right vibe. From news and current events to lifestyle and entertainment, you are covered.
VOP This Morning, 8 a.m., Monday through Friday.
Thank you so much for staying with us. It's still VOP This Morning. Labour Party's presidential candidate in the 2023 elections, Peter Obi, has slammed President Bola Tinubu for what he calls misplaced priorities, accusing him of playing politics instead of working to improve the lives of Nigerians. In his Democracy Day message, Obi said that under Tinubu's leadership, democracy has entered a period of deep recession, with governance focused more on power retention than on service delivery. He lamented the widespread hardship, economic instability, and insecurity, warning that true democratic progress cannot thrive in the face of hunger, poverty, and injustice. Also, former spokesperson for President Tinubu, Baba Ahmed, also echoed similar concerns, stating that the Tinubu's administration has failed to improve the quality of life for ordinary citizens. He argued that he promised of executive chairman Ovia Southwest local government area in Edo State. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for staying with us. Now, let me start off with you, Honorable Comrade Destiny Nabulele. We are extracting the words of Nigerians as we celebrate 26 years of uninterrupted democracy in Nigeria. We have Peter Obi come up at this point in time to say that the president or the present administration is doing politics more than governance. But yesterday, during the speech on the speech that was carried out during the joint session of the both House of Assembly, the president pointed out some of the achievements, things that he have achieved within 2 years. And he also told the persons, National Assembly members, that they should team up together to make sure that the next 2 years also will bring fruit, especially for Nigerians to reap the fruit of the dividends of democracy in this nation. What do you have to say about some of the things that the president rolled out, looking at the projection by July, having 400,000 youths, including NYC members, having access to consumer credit in Nigeria, which he said that 35,000 civil servants have also benefited from, and it helped them to procure maybe vehicles, laptops, and other things for their well-being in Nigeria. That, according to him, is an achievement.
Again, I appreciate the platform for this wonderful opportunity this morning. I cannot agree less with my other brother, His Excellency Peter Obi. It was Larry that rolled out 4 basic elements of democracy. First on the list, he talked about the issue of free and fair election of a democracy. Then he talked about active participation of citizens. And thirdly, he talked about the protection of human rights of citizens. And lastly, talk about the rule of law. If I may ask, this was, as propounded by Larry Diamond of Stanford. So for me, what you have seen is just a mere paper put together to cajole Nigerians. No, election is fast approaching.
Now, when you talk about elections and all that, Comrade Destiny, are we to blame this present administration for, the happenings in the election umpire, if I'm to use that word? Because something happened, I think yesterday, it was yesterday that Professor Tahiru Jaga made a statement. He said that politicians in general are out there bribing professors who we appoint either to be reg or also to be INEC officials, in Nigeria. Now, return officers now. Are we to blame the president for that? Isn't this what an individual should wake up to say, I am not going to be, I will not accept bribe. I am out there to do my job. Are we to blame it?
Say this. I think it's a further indictment on the person of Professor Atauru Jega. He's a man that I respect so much while I was in civil society. I've had the cause to interface with him twice or thrice. It is how can
Well,
unfortunately.
It is laughable. Well, for me, I'm not taking aback from his comment following the acceptance of the my respected Professor Wole Soyinka when he accepted the award by President Ahmed Bola Tinubu. You will recall.
I forgot that that should be our third topic of conversation. You know, we have to x-ray that. You know, we need your in-depth analysis during the third topic of conversation because that's what we have to x-ray. But looking at what you just made mention of and all the happening in Nigeria, I have some Nigerians coming up to, you know, talk down on what we're having, say we don't have practicing democracy. Even the Arewa Consultative Forum have also come up to say that instead of governing, that this present administration have also decided to be campaigning. We don't have 2 years still remaining for 2027 election to come up. Now, when you say that we are not practicing democracy in what you just made mention of, you pointed out to what happened in Edo State during the election and all of that. Now, what do you think we're practicing in Nigeria if not democracy?
I said it earlier. I said what we have is just a mere civilian rule. If you talk, let's look at the infrastructure. We talk about humility. I don't want to, if I say now, let me try to take you back to the era of the military rule.
Okay.
What we have achieved in this country today, from 1999 to date, can you tell me a significant thing that we have achieved as a nation, apart from what we are doing now? Freedom of expression, freedom to talk, although after talk that I don't know.
All right, then.
Because we have had a course where people go out to ventilate, you know, to add their voice to what is happening in the country. And
all right, then. Thank you very much.
After the ventilation.
Thank you very much, Comrade Destiny and Abulele. Well, thank you very much. Let's bring the conversation down to the studio now. Barrister Asim Anas, let me start off with you now. Looking at everything that has played out, you know, in the past few days up until now. First off, very quick question before I get into because Peter Obi's speech garnered some reactions on social media. Some Nigerians were of the opinion that who is he to even make a speech? While others said, look, he's a Nigerian and he can speak from anywhere he wants to if he chooses to. Is it on a day like yesterday, Democracy Day, is it out of place for a Peter Obi to make a public speech and, you know, put out there? Is that something that is out of place or is that something that is encouraged?
It should be encouraged. Opposition is part of democracy if you say we are practicing democracy.
Okay.
Having opposition is part of democracy. But the problem I have, Peter Obi has been my candidate. I'm even wearing his t-shirt right now. I don't know, coincidentally. He's beside me. I'm wearing it. I campaigned for Peter Obi in Rivers State. I was also the spokesperson for Obi Beatrice Itubo campaign organization in the whole of Rivers State. Encompassing the whole of Niger Delta at that time, 2023. We know what we did. It's my very good, you know, person I know. Now, what I'm saying is this. He has been talking. It's like a lone voice from the desert. But I have, you know, in our general platform where we have the obedient plan for ETC, I've suggested that for his, you know, take to have more verve and force, he should come under the Labour Party, which we know him to be. For now, he's speaking just like a lone voice. I don't know whether he's still in the Labour Party, as the case may be. It would have had more influence or whatever and courage if
Amobi
had come into whatever.
With how disjointed the Labour Party is, yes. Do you think if he continues to, you know, hobnob with the Labour Party, it might affect his chances
in
2027?
Peter Obi is a leader. Peter Obi was able to bring the obedient movement into the Labour Party.
There's still conflict as to who the chairman of the party
is. That is the reason, because he has not really stepped into that matter personally to let them adjudicate. It's a factor. It's a denominator in Labour Party. But he has not really, you know, settled down, you know, to be part of that particular movement as we had in 2023 when we went out. The obedient people right now, we are moving. We don't really know where he is going, whether it's going to be PDP or APC or whether he's still with the Labour Party.
But he says I'm still a member of the Labour Party.
But he's saying that with his mouth, but his actions are not showing us. Let me tell you, I wore this purposely today because I'm going for a rally For those who don't know, we have a caucus that we're going to do. I'm not going to advertise.
Obedience?
But yes, obedience. We are meeting today somewhere.
If you want to advertise, you pay.
No, I have to pay. So we are going somewhere. So these are issues we want to discuss because time is running out. Tinubu is campaigning. Atiku is campaigning, using platforms in their political parties to campaign. We are asking him to do same he did. If he does not want to be part of us or part of Labour Party, he should let us know so that we now know squarely where to push or whatever. But coming
Labour Party,
we
the
are not
obedient
saying,
movement.
For us, I'm not a card-carrying member of Labour Party.
Okay.
But I am an obedient, registered obedient.
So why are you insisting that he stays under the Labour Party?
We are saying because that is where we came in and most of us met him.
Okay.
It was his defection or maybe his association with Labour Party that made us now push our whatever to that movement to Labour Party. If you look at the masthead in his campaign, whatever, I did it. He raised up to about 2 million views all over the world. I did it.
Okay,
I don't have it right now, but I'll forward to you.
Barrister,
So that's to tell you how close.
There's something I want us to understand. There's something I want us to understand. Are you saying that this press conference, the democracy speech that P2B gave yesterday, he should have given that as the presidential candidate of the Labour Party?
The Labour Party, for me, that is when it was very okay, for me. What he said was the reality. Nobody needs to dispute what P2B has said. My own personal in this thing is that I'm not happy that he's not acting under
Labour Party.
The platform that is the Labour Party
now,
that we know him to be. What he has said is the truth.
Yunus Atanko, who seems to head the obedience movement, has said, look, he has made it known that, look, if wherever Peter Obi goes,
he will go.
Obedient movement will move with him, regardless of the party.
Yes.
Do you share that same view?
For me, I don't share that same view. I will not, and I can never work with the APC, the PDP for now.
Or the SDP,
because
or the ADP.
They have broad ruination. I can't talk about the SDP. In my own take and thought. I know that my own brother in Benin is listening to me. He was one time House of Assembly member when my own brother was the Speaker of the House of Assembly, late Zach Gaba. I was his legal advisor then in Benin when Oshomole was in government. I don't really know whether he was then at that time. So what I'm saying is that I know the rot in PDP. I also know that PDP is an amalgam, APC is an amalgam and transmogrification of those members of PDP who came in to that particular booth to capture state power. And so I cannot hobnob with those kind of people. And if P2B wants to hobnob with them, he's free to do that.
Barrister,
but for me, I will not sheepishly follow.
Exactly the question I want to ask now, Barrister. Exactly the question I want. Moses asked a very important question.
Yes.
Now, this is how you feel about Peter Obi and the obedient movement not going to hobnob with either SDP, PDP, ADC, or even APC.
Yes.
Now, the question will be, how many of you in the obedient movement feel this way? Do you have an idea?
We have many of us who are not happy with what is happening. When we see a man going to an Atiku Abubakar, for instance, when we see there was this man, Chris Finebone in River State, he made a very powerful article and said, these people you are hobnobbing with cannot even add 1 or 2 value to you. You got 6 million votes without these people. You got 6 million votes, and Nigerians know better now. So if you, from the blues, you came out, for the first time you contested as presidential candidate, you got more than 6 million votes. You won Lagos.
Barrister, do you believe in those votes?
Yes, wait, I'm coming. See, P2B for me, I don't want to be too extravagant with my words.
Okay.
Uncharitable. For me, he won the election. But let it not be, I'm saying it from this particular public. But my own take is that he won the election. But the votes allocated to, let's use the word, we know he scored more than that 6 million votes nationwide. But the votes allocated to P2B was 6 million. So if they allocated 6 million to you in an election that was highly flawed, then it means that you are a force to reckon with.
So you think that particular
we know better now. Okay. For instance, I want to give an example. When I monitored elections in River State, in polling units, all over it, I have everything on my visuals. Okay. When I monitored elections I saw what happened in River State. I saw how ballot boxes were snatched. Okay. And at the end of the day, they still say, this is what we got. But we knew we won. My candidate won in River State with the votes that, the actual votes that were, voted. You understand the point? Yeah, so we believe she won and P2B won. But at the end of the day, you see, they did not allow us to protect our votes. But this time around, we have vowed that we must protect our votes now.
Don't you think Peter Obi has come to realize that it takes more than votes counting to get one into Aso Rock? Don't you think he has come to realize that you need other forces? You probably need to have the judiciary on your side. You probably need to have some other big wigs on your side. Don't you think that is why he's going the way he's going? And also, because of time, some have said the best Peter Obi has to get close to Aso Rock is being a VP. How do you react to that statement?
P2B, for me, for those who are subscribing, that P2B should be a vice president to any other candidate, for me, I think it's a puerile argument. And I think it's an argument that is founded on corrupt, platter. Because a P2B I've seen and I interacted with, that I have known, for me, he's more intelligent than these people they are even ascribing him to. To be a VP to who?
Politics.
You understand? To be a VP politics. To who? A P2B, an egghead, that if Nigeria were to be a country where people's votes count, P2B will be president of Nigeria today. If votes are allowed to count, if not because of this diabolic calisthenics by INEC, where this mumbo jumbo, boju kind of counting take place, P2B ought to be the president of Nigeria.
Okay.
Because he knows the problems of Nigeria. He knows the solutions.
You said Tinubu is campaigning. You are campaigning too for your principal.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Fanimo, let's bring you into this conversation.
No, it's fine.
Let's bring you into this.
But I need to.
Okay. Maybe you have to. The accounts people will send
you an invoice. When the time comes, people will come around.
All right. Then let's bring you into this conversation now. In your estimation, if you put everything together, do you think that Peter Obi can win Nigeria's presidency without having to hobnob with either these people, APC, PDP, SDP, outside of the obedient movement, or still moving along with the obedient movement? Do you think it's a journey he can travel alone at that level? I mean, trying to talk about not merging with PDP, ADC, SDP, and all of that.
Honestly, it's the best option for him for now. Going it alone.
Can he?
He should. He should. Because going with PDP, he will be smeared to the extent that he will be written in paint even before the election. Because an article cannot be trusted within the PDP to want to seed any gap for Peter Obi. And it will probably be too late in the day to gather momentum by the time they betray him. That's one. Then he doesn't have any chance in APC. So what is left is Labour Party. There are two options that I consider for Peter Obi as it is today, except all things are no longer equal tomorrow. Peter Obi should make efforts to bring Labour Party together to make it formidable. But if there are signs that is not going to happen, before it gets too late, Peter Obi should find his compass. You see, the obedient, I'm even surprised that Barrister is one of them. And to tell you that somebody who has that exposure and political sagacity like Barrister to want to stick out his neck, then now imagine the number of youth that are also angling for Peter Obi's presidency. For all you care, Peter Obi has been running a show on his own. Labour Party, I've not seen a single press statement from Labour Party trying to lash out at this current administration, or even providing solutions to our problems in this country. Not a single one. I don't know if anybody has seen one. But most times, there is this intervention from Peter Obi. And he has stayed behind. One of the hallmark of a Democrat is when you lose, you stay to fight another day. Unlike some people that as soon as they lose, they find a safer heaven outside of the country. And when it is time...
Oh, you mean Atiku?
Yes.
Okay.
And when it is time, he comes back. I'm not shying away from this. So for me, this option of Peter Obi staying with Labour Party should not be the final destination if Labour Party, because there's a booby trap now.
Indeed.
And that booby trap is if Peter Obi runs on Labour Party ticket and the issue of who is the authentic chairman or NWC members, NEC members of that party is not resolved, and Peter Obi decides to run. If he wins, he will lose. Because they will employ people like Barrister Azim to prove that the candidacy was wrong and null and void at the last minute.
And what is the likelihood that what he just said now might happen?
No, the thing is this. You see, like he said, that he's still a member of Labour Party. And that's why I said we are discussing. Labour Party, obedience are discussing.
Of course.
And we are trying to persuade him and say, please, sir, you can't just abandon the ship like that, no matter how it is. Our house is started. There's a role you have to play, a prominent role you have to play. And that is why we are trying to tell him and, sway him and see if he can. I know that he's going to have a rethink. And if he goes in, makes a pronouncement in Labour Party, all these issues will be resolved. Let me tell you, this is a young man at Lagos State. In the history of political whatever, right from the Shagari time till now, 1990 date, there is no other party that has won Lagos State.
You don't think that was
somebody
a
won?
You don't think that was a one?
It was not a one-off in Edo State. In Edo State, the presidential, I'm telling you, presidential, he won. There are people in Kaduna State, Katsina State, where Buhari has, force. Some people were elected. They didn't even campaign. Just got the fact that they had Labour Party and they were obedient in that. They won House of Reps. In Lagos, Oshodi, you remember what happened in Oshodi? The man did not even campaign. He did not even know. His picture was just there. People went there and voted. And this part in the Houses of Assembly until we later found that they defected now to APC. The reason why they defected, when we asked one of them, he said, Oga, please, we thought that by now, no matter how our house is, that we should have come together with the little whatever we're able to get. We have a governor. Let us build that house and make it a stronger one. We know better now. That this 2027 they are talking about, now we know better. The mistakes we made in 2023, we're not going to make it in 2027.
Do you think the mantra of not spending money, of not spending, is affecting Peter Obi's movement, the obedient movement?
To an extent, but it has created, a swell group of young Nigerians who are not after politicians' money. Let me tell you, I was an insider in Labour Party in Rivers State. You know what happened? Donations came from different, youths all over the world. I had a lady who had to travel from US to Nigeria here because of the elections, as the case may be. So these are things that the reorientation of our conscience, ethical revolution, that came about with the P2B obedient movement is what we need for it to try.
One question before we go to the guest in Benin City. Barrister, you said something that what Obi just needs to do is to come and make a statement in the Labour Party concerning the problems and it to be resolved.
Absolutely.
Barrister, are you very sure of what you said? Because Obi has said that, look, President Tinubu, you are government, you are responsible for what is going on in the Labour Party.
See, the point is this. Let me put it succinctly clear to all of that. I support what you have said. Even in the United States of America, a man called Donald Trump has done everything to dismember the Democratic Party. Ronald Reagan did it, as the case may be. So it is not new here. Nigerian politics is prescriptive and is transactional. Two, and finally, people should understand that we play politics in Nigeria like the football game we watch. An own goal is counted for the opponent. And when the opponents score themselves, the person the goal is awarded to jubilate. So when the president said he's very happy to that this whatever is going or whatever his case may be, that is the kind of politics we play in Nigeria. It is prescriptive and transactional. Obasanjo, Ahmadu Ali came one day and said that PDP will rule for 100 years. What was he trying to say? He was trying to say that other parties, there's good. So anybody that thinks that a sitting president will not want to destabilize other political party, I don't think the person is being sincere to himself.
All right, Comrade Inabulele, let's get your opinion on this particular one. Now, people are pointing fingers to APC destabilizing other opposition parties to the point that the president yesterday said that it is a pleasure to him that he is seeing other political parties being in disarray. But he made a point when he said that there was a time he was the only governor standing on the order of progressives, and he was able to do it himself. Are we still going to see such blames, such fingers pointing to individuals or political parties during the next or upcoming election in 2027? Comrade Destiny.
Yeah, please come again, please. Sorry.
All right, I was asking, what's your opinion on the fact that individuals are pointing fingers to APC, trying its best to destabilize other political parties in opposition, and to the point that yesterday during the Independence, the Democracy Day speech, the president said that it is a pleasure to him, watching other political parties, especially those in opposition now in disarray at this point in time. Are we going to, see such play out again during the 2027 election as we expect, as the case may be?
Yes, I think the last speaker, in an attempt to, he said, let me quote him, that our political, politics is transactional, and that is the LCM, that is the gospel truth, that is the political truth, and that is the, I don't know how to put it, that is the Nigerian truth or way of politicking. You see, it is shameful, and I must say that we don't have an average politician. Majority of our politicians don't have what we call integrity. So they are a bit driven by their stomach, or that's why some people refer to it as stomach infrastructure. So immediately they are out of the radar, the governance radar or political radar, or their party is no longer in charge, either in the state or in the center. You see them, sniffing, looking for how to jump the ship, or how to cross carpet for their daily bread, for relevance. So for me, we should expect more of it. I said it earlier. I said that is why I respect. One of the reasons I respect President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is simple, because if just like what you said just now, it was only the man standing, especially in the south this week. The only progressive governor standing, he stood his ground, and you were able to metamorphose to what you see today. Today, he holds sway of Lagos politics, because over time he has been consistent. But it's quite sad. Here you are, you see some governor, they say, I don't have the strength to do politics like Wike. That's why the former actor referred to them as the transgeneric, politicians. So for us, politics, according to the president, is not served a la carte. Politics, you must be willing, you must have the strength, you must have the muscle to command the followers. And
thank you, comrade, for that, because we have to delve into this particular angle you're going into, the political aspect of the discussion this morning, as the case may be. Ahead of 2027 elections, Jega blames Tinubu, other politicians for bribing professors during elections. We'll dissect this. After this break, we'll also encourage you gentlemen to please be with us while we go on this break and come back.
Former chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Atahiru Jega, has accused Nigerian politicians of corrupting the electoral process by bribing university professors who serve as returning officers during elections. Jega, who made the revelation while speaking at a lecture in Abuja to mark Nigeria's 2025 Democracy Day, said the integrity of the electoral system is under threat due to the desperation of politicians who compromise academics to manipulate results. He stressed the need for electoral reforms and greater protection of institutions from political interference, while Professor Jega also warned against the hasty adoption of electronic voting technology in Nigeria, cautioning that the country's infrastructure and readiness must first be carefully evaluated, while advocating for the mandatory electronic transmission of election results to boost transparency. He proposed a shift to a part-time legislature to reduce the cost of governance. He urged stakeholders to pursue meaningful electoral reforms with sincerity and commitment, noting that quick fixes without proper planning could backfire and further weaken public confidence in Nigeria's democracy. We still have with us Daily Fanimo, who is a seasoned reporter, Barrister Asim Adams, and Comrade Destiny Enabulele. Well, starting off with Comrade, yes. Comrade, you started swimming in these waters just before we even got to it. So let me start off with you now. These accusations against professors, these against politicians, I beg your pardon, coming from Atahiru Jega. Well, he did say when he was, in charge of INEC, he decided to bring academics into it because they are people that they were credible and would not be biased. But we've seen how it seems like a few of them have been bought over time. What's your reaction really to this allegation of bribery on the part of politicians going ahead to bribe professors to alter results?
Yeah, let me again, appreciate you. Longest time. You see, it's but we've had cases in this country, some astounding professors. So we cannot just say give it a blanket, acceptance to say the professors. Like in Abia, for instance, today the OT is a governor of Abia State. It's because of the tenacity and the incorruptible nature of the state returning officer of that state. So for us, we must give it to the returning officer of that. But that is not to say that majority of our professors they are our gas. I must give it to them.
But nobody is saying the majority. We're saying they have been influenced by politicians.
Yes, that's why I said majority of them. They've been swayed to be corrupted by politicians. That's why I stand out the returning officer of Abia State. You saw what happened during the governorship election in Abia. Okay. So the returning officer stood our ground that look, I will not do what you want me to do. So we still have some pockets, some very few professors that will be able to say, okay, put words to action. That from where I'm coming from, I will ascend to this zenith of my profession. I cannot just be cajoled or be bought over with a porridge. So.
All right.
Okay, comrade, let me stay with you because it's very interesting. You're a politician, and the Professor Jega himself has accused you, politicians. Comrade, you've won elections. I want to put you on the spot. How did you win your election? Free, fair, credible?
To be very sincere, I won my election on free, fair election. Okay. Because I canvassed to every nook and cranny of my local government, of my constituency.
All right.
But as you can see, the issue we're talking about, the independence of the judiciary. That's why I'm here today.
Okay. But they voted you out. They voted you out afterwards.
No, they didn't. I wasn't voted out. I was sworn in. I spent 6 months in the House of Assembly.
And the judiciary.
Before I was removed by someone that believed that my emergence in the constituency is a threat to him. And today he's a deputy governor. He used the influence he had with the chief of staff to remove me from office. Here I am today.
That's a heavy allegation.
Oh, quite heavy.
That's a heavy allegation.
From office.
He doesn't. He's not a lawyer. He's not a judge, is he? So how did he do that?
No, but I should be able to tell you that I won the election because I would run the needful by canvassing and the acceptance. As I speak with you, if you go to my village,
how did he remove you from office?
My village, there are youths, there are voters in my father's house as I speak to you now. When I live there, I will go there and meet with them. So when you are in tune, when you are on ground, the people know who they. Just like what we are saying in that of Peter Obi.
All right.
The people know who are their leaders.
All right, then we're running out of time. But thank you very much, Honorable Destiny and Abulele. And are you going to try again in 2027?
No, we are studying the movement that is involved. We are studying it.
All right then. Okay. Let's bring this to Barrister Asim Adams now. Barrister, is it okay to just blame professors, seeing that everyone is looking for stomach infrastructure anyway? And then how about those? If you look at Akwa Ibom for example, is it Peter or one of the professors there who aided Peter? Yes, who aided. He's been sentenced, but the person he basically altered results for is still, doing his thing in the assembly, even in the Senate President's constituency. There was an allegation as to the returning officer altering the results. He's also been sentenced.
That is what we have been talking about. What exactly are we practicing? Now, if you look at it, a country of sane leaders and those that really want us to progress would have set up a committee or Truth and Reconciliation Committee where people like Jega and past, INEC chairman will come in and give exposés like this, an expose, because Jega was INEC chairman. And he is telling you now from the source that the reason why we have flawed elections is because of the fact that some of the professors that are being used have been compromised. And it's very obvious. Now, two, the second one is this. I wrote an article, I said that the moment you go, you are talking about coalition right now, but nobody is talking about electoral reforms. That if you want to have coalition without having electoral reforms, it's like building your bridge, like with ice blocks. You understand? Once heat comes, it will just cave in and whatever the case may be. So now, this is the situation and why they have to bring in people like, Jega to come and tell us exactly what happened. The third one is this: our electoral act has to be refined. See, I pictured about 34 minefields in the electoral act 2022. Section 84 is the longest of all the sections there. That section 84, even lawyers do not even understand what that particular section is talking about, from section 84 down to the subsections. Now, electronic transmission, the guidelines of elections and whatever that happens, that particular document has to go through surgery once more. That particular document has to go through in a kind of a revolution, because these are the things, the laws. For instance, finally on this, do you know what happened? Professor is going for 3 years imprisonment with an option of fine of 1 million or 2 million. But the judge saw how grievous and how he was complicit in that particular fraud. That is why he gave both, option of fine and, imprisonment. He gave the two together for the man. Let me tell you, I am saying with due respect, with the Nigerian law system we have, in the next 1 year or 1.5, Prof will be out of prison, as the case may be, and he can even bear the ex-convict, whatever. He does not care. He may even return back to his academics and begin to teach students, as the case may be. So the laws must have to be rejigged for severe punishment, or maybe harsher punishment for people who participate in electoral fraud.
Yes, this is a good place to anchor the conversation. Well, big thanks to you for being here and your thoughts. We wish you well in your meetings and campaigns of
yes, thank
the
you.
Obedience. Barrister C. Maddox, thank you very much.
Thank
big
you.
thanks also to Comrade Destiny and Abulele. Well, we wish you the very best in the coming elections. Thank you for being on the show. And also, big thanks to Daily Fanimo. Thank you very much. We do expect, we'll take your thoughts on a lot of other issues during newspaper review. Thank you very much. On behalf of my colleagues, Chukuma Okoro, Fina Okechukwu, this is where we draw the curtain on VOP this morning. But newspaper review comes up in about a few minutes. Join us again then. I am Moses Humphrey. Bye for now.